And this is part of our Volunteer West Virginia webinar series. We're doing one webinar a month for the year of 2021. And the goal of this project is to explain what we do here at Volunteer West Virginia to the community. So our upcoming topics for this webinar series is we're having another one this Friday. If you're interested in joining Americorps, we're going to be hearing from about 4 Americorps members in the state, and they're going to be sharing how their service experience has been. In April for National Volunteer Month, it's going to be all about volunteering. So if you haven't registered for that, be sure to do so. And then in May, this is a really great treat. We are doing a condensed version of our grant writing training. And this is one of our most popular trainings that we have. So if you're curious about grant writing, this would be a really great opportunity to sign up for that. We're going to cap the registration for that at 100 people. So if you'd like to learn more about grant writing, I'd suggest that you sign up for it today because it's going to be a really good workshop. And today's topic, we're going to be talking all about Americorps. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson, explain Americorps' history in Appalachia, and then we're going to be going over the basics of Americorps with Americorps 101. And then lastly, we're going to explain to you all how you can get connected to Americorps programs in the state. So here's a little history lesson of Americorps in West Virginia. As I mentioned previously, our state has a huge history with national service. So when we think of Americorps' great-grandparents, it's going to be the Ccc Camps of the 1930s and the 1940s. This was a New Deal program to boost the economy. I looked this up today and I was really interested to learn that there were actually 67 Ccc camps in West Virginia, and over 55,000 people, young men, served in this program. And these young men built many of the state parks and the trails, the roads and the bridges. Where I grew up, I believe they even built a pool. And they built a lot of the infrastructure that we use in the state today. And this was kind of the background model for Americorps and what it was based on. So later became the development of Vista. This was like the first Americorps program that was ever started. This was a brainchild of John F. Kennedy. And I love this picture of John F. Kennedy. I use it in every presentation that we do. It was actually taken in Logan, West Virginia, when he was campaigning in the 60s. So John F. Kennedy thought, what if we could have a domestic version of the Peace Corps? And that's how Americorps Vista was started. And it was developed to fight the war on poverty. Many of the first Vistas actually served in West Virginia. So here's a picture of a Vista in Raleigh County. And some of these first Vista members in the state, they helped do education. So they would go into people's homes and teach the children how to read. And another really interesting project they did was they educated communities on Black lung. So back in the 60s, they didn't even know Black lung was a thing. So some of the first Vista members would go into the communities and educate them on Black lung and how they could get help with that. So that's a pretty cool fact about Americorps Vista in the state. And our most famous Vista volunteer was Senator Jay Rockefeller. He moved here in the 60s to serve in Emmons, West Virginia. And you can see him here, he's reading a child a book. And what I find most interesting about Senator Rockefeller's service is he said it took him like 6 months to get in the community. So when he first showed up, no one would even open their door to let him in. But then once he built those community connections, it really stuck with him. And he decided to stay in West Virginia and continue his service as a state senator. So that's a pretty interesting background about Americorps Vista and Senator Rockefeller. So after that came the creation of Americorps. That's what we're talking about today. In 1994, and this was started under President Bill Clinton. And what they did is they developed Americorps, and then all these programs began to fall under it. So you see Americorps Vista, Americorps and Triple C, and Americorps State. And there's tons of Americorps programs, and that's what we're going to explain to you today about the difference between these programs and how you all can get involved. So flash forward to Americorps in 2021. We have about 900 Americorps members that serve West Virginia each year. That's an amazing number. About a year or two, we ranked #1 in the nation for producing Americorps volunteers. And I believe this year we ranked 2nd or 3rd. So West Virginians are so caring and giving. You can really see that by the number of people that sign up to be Americorps members. And another great benefit of Americorps is the Education Award. So you can see here that last year, Americorps members received $1.8 million in education awards for their service. So in exchange for a year of service, you receive money to go back to school. Oh, and here's my last point. We are 3rd in the nation. I forgot I even put that in there for producing Americorps members. So that's pretty cool. So before we get into the meat of the presentation, Christina and I love to do giveaways. So I'm going to introduce Christina and let's do an Americorps prize giveaway for Americorps Week.
Yes, we're going to keep things fun. We have a new Americorps logo. If you have noticed, some of the previous slides with our history had that nice emblem with the A. We've got a new logo starting this year and we want to show it off and get it out there and get it seen. So we have some lucky winners who are going to be winning this backpack filled with some other fun swag. We did a random drawing based on the folks who registered for this webinar. And our first 5 winners are Ardella, Lisa, Carol, Joyce, and Sherry. So I think almost all of you put your mailing addresses in your registration. Thank you for that. But congratulations to our winners. Thank you for being here today. And with that, we are going to go further into our presentation on our Americorps 101 section. Americorps can be a little complicated to understand, and we're here today to help you tease apart the different types of Americorps programs, the different types of Americorps members, so you can figure out what might be the best fit for your organization or for you. There are 2 main branches under the Americorps umbrella. Those are Americorps and Americorps Senior. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into those 2 main branches. Under Americorps, we have Americorps State and National, Americorps Vista, and Americorps and Triple C. So you can kind of picture it in your head, the 2 main branches, and then under the Americorps branch, we have 3 little streams. Under the Americorps Senior branch, we also have 3 programs: the Foster Grandparents Program, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and the Senior Companions. Americorps members do all types of different things. You can see some Americorps members here in 2014 doing a street cleanup. While serving, Americorps members receive a monthly living allowance. They also receive, as Dana mentioned, an education award, which can go towards future educational goals or past student loans, which is really wonderful for a lot of people. Americorps members serving full-time also can receive health insurance if they're not already covered. And of course, they receive career development, networking opportunities, and professional experience to build up their resume. The main focus areas that Americorps members are serving towards include education, healthy futures, economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, disaster services, and veterans and military families. So these are priority areas that Americorps programs must fall under to serve. Americorps members can serve at a variety of places as well, including nonprofits, schools, and government agencies. So if you're curious where our Americorps members are in West Virginia, I'm going to send a link in the chat box right now where you can see where our Americorps members are. We're still building out this map to be inclusive of all the different streams of Americorps service, but we have a pretty good head start on our Americorps state members. So check that out and it will be updated soon. Here's another wonderful picture that show truly the diversity of our Americorps members, how they come in all ages, shapes and sizes, all different types of people can serve with Americorps. And we're really hopeful that we might spark some new interest with you all today. We have another giveaway for you guys. So we have 5 more winners who are going to receive this wonderful new logoed Americorps backpack. And our next 5 winners are Linda, Tina, Terilyn, Kaylin, and Vicky. Congratulations, ladies. You guys are also going to be receiving a little swag pack from us in the mail, so be on the lookout from that. And I'll pass it over to you, Dana, to keep us going.
Thanks, Christina. So congratulations on your backpacks. We hope you all love them. And we're just flying along with this presentation today, Christina. And our last part that we're going to talk about today is how to get connected. So how do you get one of these Americorps members at your organization? So you have a few options. You can host an Americorps member. That would be one person. You can host a whole team of Americorps members, or you could host an Americorps senior volunteer. And you could also start an Americorps program. We're not going to get into that today, but if you're interested in starting an Americorps program, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box, and we can talk a little bit more about that at some point. But we really love to encourage people to start with one Americorps member, see how it goes, and then maybe start your own program. That's an option too. So to host an Americorps member, they do all kinds of stuff. You can see in this picture here on the left, we have a gentleman helping with historic preservation. In the middle, we have Lily. She serves with Grow Ohio Valley, and during the pandemic, they packed free meals for members in the community. And then over to the right, we have another Americorps Vista, and it looks like she's helping out with a community garden. So they do all kinds of interesting things across the state. So you have 2 options for an Americorps member. This would be hosting one person at your organization. You can host an Americorps State National member, and they do direct service. These members are full-time, and some of them are part-time. And then your second option here is to host an Americorps Vista. This was the program we talked about that was started by John F. Kennedy. They do indirect service, and it's poverty focused, and they do full-time capacity building. So if you're wondering what that means exactly, I'm going to explain it to you a little bit more clearly in our next slide. So Americorps State and National members, the direct service, they do all kinds of things. So when you think of Americorps State and National, these are people that are going to be working with their hands. So they're going to be preserving historic properties, mentoring youth, teaching financial literacy, helping with high school credit recovery, environmental outreach, and chronic disease management. So these are just a few examples of what these Americorps members do, but they work with individuals one-on-one. They're out there in the field doing direct service, getting their hands dirty, and in serving in the community. So here's a few pictures that I like to show as an example of what Americorps State and National members do. Here they are in Morgantown preserving a school. You can see here they cut down some trees and they're sprucing up the building. So this is a historic preservation program. And then just on the other side of the coin is Americorps Vista, and this is indirect service. So what that means is these Americorps members are going to be writing grants, developing program, helping with fundraising. So you'll notice these are more administrative activities, and the goal of an Americorps Vista is for them to develop something new at your organization that they can pass on after they leave. So for example, I was an Americorps Vista at the Children's Home Society of West Virginia. That's how I moved back to the state, and I helped them develop their mentoring program. So we developed a mentoring program and a volunteer recruitment program. So that's more of an administrative volunteer, where the other side is a hands-on volunteer. And that's the primary difference between those two programs. And here's a great example of what an Americorps Vista can do. They can do fundraising. So we have Vista with West Virginia Promise, and she recently received a $10,000 donation from the Jennifer Gardner Foundation. And she did that by writing letters and asking for donations. So all that money is going to go back to help children in the state. So that's kind of what a Vista does. Another great example is Americorps Vistas can organize service projects. So here we see a bunch of different Vistas from the West Virginia Community Development Hub, and they organized a day of service to support a theater in Grafton. So that kind of gives you an idea of what those members can do. So now that you want to get one, how do you do it? So we have about quite a few programs that we can match you with. And the average cost share to host an Americorps member is $5,000 to $10,000. And I know some of you might think that's a lot of money, but that's like a full-time volunteer for the entire year. And that's all you have to pay. And that cost share covers everything that you need. So it's a pretty good investment. Oftentimes, if people are interested in Americorps Vista, if they help you with fundraising, you could use that money to pay for their cost share. So there's lots of creative ways to get that funding. So I don't want you to be discouraged because it sounds like a lot, but it's a really great investment for a full-time person. When you get your Americorps member, you're going to be responsible for recruiting them. So you get to pick who you want, and you're going to be training them and managing them. So we don't like to call them employees because they're not, but essentially that would be the same process as bringing a new employee into your organization. You would interview them and do background checks and all that kind of thing. So if you're interested in getting an Americorps member, like I mentioned, we have quite a few programs that you could partner with. My email address is right there. And what I like to do is, if you're interested in having one, send me an email, and then we can set up a one-on-one conversation about what would be the best program for you to partner with. And then I could help you match with a program to get an Americorps member. And if you have any questions about getting an Americorps member, we're going to do a few questions at the end. So just jot them down now, and then we'll cover that at the end of this presentation. So the second program we have is Americorps and Triple C. This is a wonderful program. And we have Stephanie from the Mississippi campus here with us today. So if you have any questions about Americorps and Triple C, you can put them in the chat now. But this is a wonderful program. It creates teams of Americorps volunteers. They are 18 to 24, and they travel around the country, and each month they get deployed to a different project. So like I said, it's about 8 to 12 members that travel around the country. I like to say it's like Road Rules, if you're familiar with that show from the 90s. The members serve at organizations for about 3 to 8 weeks, and they're full-time. So they would be with you all week. They're super hard workers, and they do direct service, like what I was talking about. So they could come to your organization and help you build a community garden or do trail restoration. If you host a summer camp, that team could come and be camp counselors. There's all kinds of really great, wonderful partnerships. And what I love to highlight about the Americorps and Triple C teams is that they are free. So there's no cost share. All you need to do is have a place for them to stay. So they need a place to stay. It doesn't have to be fancy. They could stay in a church or a bunkhouse, anywhere in your community that has a kitchen and that's nice and safe for them. We actually have an Americorps and Triple C serving in the Charleston area right now, and they're helping with vaccine efforts. So we usually get about quite a few teams that come to West Virginia each year, which is pretty cool to serve in Americorps and Triple C. So they'll come with a team leader, they come with a van and some tools, and their skills vary. They get trained, but your organization would need to do an on-site orientation and have a supervisor while they're there to help guide them in the right direction. And then that hopped in there twice, but it's such a great point that these Americorps members are free. There is no cost share. And here's a great picture of an Americorps and Triple C team serving, just to give you an idea of what they look like. So if you're curious about hosting an Americorps and Triple C or your organization, they accept applications on a rolling basis. So they have certain periods where they'll accept an application. And Stephanie is wonderful to work with. She can help you develop your application and kind of brainstorm with you. And she's putting some really great comments in the chat. So if Americorps and Triple C has perked your ears up, you can check out what she's saying there, because she's making some really great points that I forgot about. And to receive an application, you're going to contact Stephanie, who's on the call today. And if you don't get a chance to write down these email addresses, Christina will send you a copy of this presentation when we're done. So lastly, we have one other option for you. If you want to host an Americorps member, you can get an Americorps Senior volunteer. So these volunteers are 55 years and up. And a little bit more about these programs. There are 3 different Americorps Senior programs. And if you're familiar with Americorps, you might notice that their names have changed. So this used to be called Senior Corps. And with the new Americorps logo, it's been changed to Americorps Seniors. So that's a little insider scoop if you're in the Amera world. So the 3 programs are Foster Grandparents, Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and Senior Companions. And I'm going to share a little bit more about each one of these programs and how you can get connected. So foster grandparents are really wonderful. They serve throughout the state and they mentor and help students. So you can find foster grandparents in schools and after school programs in West Virginia. These would be great volunteers if you have a youth-based volunteer, or if you had a youth-based program and you're looking for a consistent volunteer to show up. So they serve for about a year and then they could come in every week and meet with your students. So this is a wonderful resource. The second Americorps Senior program is the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. So they do just a little bit of everything. So I know here in Charleston, we have an RSVP volunteer that volunteers at the United Way of West Virginia, and she welcomes people. So she works at the front desk, which is really sweet. So she's able to, excuse me, answer the phone. And it's a great opportunity for her to get out in the community and just meet people and add a sweet touch to their organization. They can also be found at food banks if you work with a food bank, schools, nursing homes, assisted healthcare providers, and similar to the Red Cross, so blood donor services. So retired senior volunteer programs, they do just about everything. And kind of similar to the foster grandparents program, it's a consistent volunteer. So that's a really great perk of having an RSVP volunteer at your organization. And then lastly, we have the Senior Companion Program. This is one of my favorites. It's Seniors Helping Seniors. So senior companions help other seniors with light chores. They take seniors grocery shopping and to doctor's appointments. So if you do any outreach at your nonprofit and senior services, this could be a really cool resource for you to have a senior volunteer helping other seniors, which is pretty special. So that was just kind of an overhead view of the Americorps Senior Program. If you're interested in hosting one of those volunteers, you're going to reach out to our sister agency, that's the federal office. We are the state Americorps office, and then there's a federal office, and their email address is in there, and you would email them and just let them know that you'd like to set up an appointment to discuss getting an Americorps Senior volunteer. So, wow, that was our 30-second overview of Americorps. I know it can be complicated. Christina and I have been working in Americorps for years, but you don't have to understand it all, but we hope that we pointed you in the right direction, and then we're here to help you. So I would love to hear any questions that you all have. We have Stephanie and Hannah Stone on the line today. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box or go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'll take about the next 10 minutes to answer questions. And then we're going to be done with our presentation for today.
I see one comment in the chat box from Anita saying that you have a nonprofit community center in Boone County. We may be able to help support your program through an Americorps program. Americorps members do require supervision. They can't just be on their own at a site doing their own thing. But if you want to send us an email, Anita, with a little bit more about what your community center does and what you need assistance with, we might be able to hook you up with an Americorps resource that would fit. Do Americorps senior volunteers receive a living allowance? I don't believe so. And if you are here and you have the answer to that, you can pop off mute or in the chat box.
I'm here. So they do. Well, not 100% of all the streams do. So foster grandparents and senior companion volunteers do receive a living allowance, but it's not called a living allowance with these two streams of service. It's a stipend, and they also receive some other benefits from serving. Their travel to and from the schools or service sites will be covered. There's also meals provided as well. RSVP, there is no living allowance or stipend associated with that. And I think just to distinguish between foster grandparents and senior companion programs are pretty similar in that there's a minimum number of volunteer hours that volunteers can do per week. So usually, although not 100% of the time, foster grandparents or senior companion volunteers, it's generally like a 20-hour per week volunteer schedule. So they'll be around a lot to help. And RSVP is much more flexible. So some RSVP volunteers will volunteer 20 hours a week, but some would prefer to have a less of a time constraint there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Anne. Thanks for being here. What is the cost to have a Vista worker? So it depends, Anita. Different Vista programs require a different cost share from their partners. So once we can consult with you to figure out exactly what your needs are, we can connect you with a couple of Vista programs that exist in West Virginia to see which might be the right fit for your focus area. And they can tell you about their application process and what their cost share requirement is. The range that we gave in today's presentation was about $5,000 to $10,000 for a full year Vista to serve with your organization. Trying to keep my eyes steady here. The questions are rolling in now. It's good you guys are here and you have questions. That's what we're here for. Can the Americorps leadership volunteers work virtually? Yes, potentially. Like I said, there is supervision requirements. Americorps members have to be supervised with their service, but throughout the pandemic, we have had remote service plans in place to make sure that our Americorps members, and I know some Vista programs have done the same, can stay safe and healthy while completing their required service activities. Obviously, some service activities cannot be conducted virtually, but in extenuating circumstances, some can.
Let's see.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Dana.
Christina. I looked up. Lisa was interested in Americorps Senior volunteer, which is awesome. And I put that email address in the chat for you, Lisa, so you can get matched up with our sister agency. That's who Anne was with. Thanks for joining us, Anne, today. And if you email them, they'll be able to help you get an Americorps Senior volunteer.
That email that you shared actually comes right to my inbox. I don't know if Vicky's on the call, but I received your email, Vicky, if you are here.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne. So if
Michelle,
you're interested in Americorps Senior, Anne will help you. Sorry, Christina. Go ahead.
You're fine. We're all used to this Zoom world that we're living in. Michelle had a question asking if a retired person can be a regular Americorps member. Yes, the answer is yes. There is no age limit for Americorps. We know the name of the naming convention with Americorps and Americorps Senior might be a little misleading, but seniors, any age, can still participate in regular Americorps. We have many older Americans serving in Americorps in our programs in West Virginia, and we love it. It's actually a great kind of second career, if you will. Many people were teachers or in the corporate world for most of their career, and after retirement want to work on a passion project. They want to serve their community, and Americorps is the perfect way to do that. I also believe that the education award can be transferred to a child or a grandchild. Am I right, Dana?
Mm-hmm.
For Americorps members that serve past a certain age. And Patricia, the grant writing training is online. I'll send the link again to our webpage with the different Volunteer West Virginia Wednesday registration links. It is May 12th. It's online. And oh, Dana, you already sent that. It's in there double. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the lines as they're jumping.
So I think we have 2 more questions. Christina, I'm reading through them. So Anita asked if the county government can host an Americorps member. Absolutely. You all would be eligible. That would be a great fit for an Americorps member, Anita. And then, who was it? Patricia is excited, or these chat questions are funny. Someone's geared up to get their backpack. Vicky is ready to get her backpack, girlfriend, and we're going to mail it to you. So most of you put your mailing address in the registration form. So if you received a prize today, we're going to be mailing those out to you. So you'll get them sent to you.
Checking to see if we missed any other questions. I see, Barb, you're developing a youth development web portal with some face-to-face, but mostly virtual supervision. We'd have to talk about that. It sounds like you might be interested in a Vista, but the entire project is a virtual project. So you're wondering how that might work. I'm not exactly sure, but we can talk about it. Is there any other questions coming through? I also did put our link to our feedback survey in the chat box. We love to hear your feedback about how you thought today's presentation has gone, any future topics you might want to learn more about from us at Volunteer West Virginia. We love talking about Americorps and all the other things. Can we get multiple RSVP members? Yes.
Yeah, you can. I can, one more quick note about Americorps Seniors. If you are interested in learning more about those programs or requesting or expressing your interest in Americorps Senior Volunteer, it would be helpful if when you email the wv@cncs.gov that you include just a note about the county that you're located in, and a little bit more about what you have in mind for the volunteer to do or your volunteer need. Will just help us with some back and forth, communication. But we'll give you a call.
Thanks, Anne. Are there any questions that we missed? Feel free to unmute if that would be easier. Make sure we didn't have any slides that we missed, and we didn't. So just want to make sure you take our feedback survey. It'll just take you a couple of minutes. And we hope to see you on future Volunteer West Virginia Wednesday webinars. We'll hang around for a few minutes for any final questions, but we wrapped up a little early today. So hopefully you can enjoy some sunshine with the extra 20 minutes that we have after our presentation.